This is News 2 Chicago. Good evening, I'm Linda McLennan.
And I'm Lester Holt. We'll have live team coverage of our top story tonight, a massive gas explosion and fire on Chicago's near north side. Flames shot 15 stories high just outside a senior citizens complex at Halsted and Clybourne. 100
firefighters called to the scene after a construction crew breaks a gas main, and then the ferocious fire roars out of control.
Hundreds of people forced to flee their homes and find some place to stay tonight. Our team coverage includes a live report from Burley Hines at the New City YMCA on what will happen to those displaced people.
But let's begin with Mike Parker and the latest on exactly how the explosion happened. Mike is live at Clybourne and Halsted. Mike.
Linda, although 5 police officers and firefighters suffered minor cases of heat prostration here today during this fiery emergency, amazingly, no one, we repeat, no one was seriously hurt. And you'll be amazed, too, when you see the pictures. For over an hour, a giant plume of burning natural gas, 200 feet high, roared out of a ruptured underground gas main and enveloped the upper floors of the CHA's Flannery Homes for Senior Citizens. The inferno could be seen from miles around. This is how it looked to drivers along the Kennedy Expressway. Although 500 elderly people were living in the complex, they all escaped before the fire started. In the nick of time, before the leaking gas ignited, fire crews evacuated the residents. Some who lived there helped get their neighbors out.
Where's the door? Get on the door. Come on down. Come on down. Get on. It's a fire.
People's Gas Company is blaming Harrington Construction for the accident, claiming excavators should have known the gas main was buried there. Was that main marked?
Yes, it was. We have also talked to the fire department, and they have pictures and stills of the markings.
The developer of the construction project believes the warning marks were off by some 8 feet.
I think there is an issue here about how the main was marked.
The state agency that regulates People's Gas is looking into the cause.
Well, there'd be substantial civil liability, obviously, if there's negligence on either the part of the gas company or the contractor.
In 1996, the contractor, Harrington Construction Company, was involved in a similar but not as serious incident involving a natural gas pipeline. That occurred in Bradley, Illinois. The company was sued for negligence and for failing to heed gas company warnings about the location of a natural gas main. Live on the north side, Mike Parker, News 2 Chicago. Linda.
All right, Mike, as you might imagine, it was some confusion for hundreds of residents as they were evacuated before the fire actually broke out. Some people ran to safety pretty scared. Some of them didn't have time to get fully dressed. Others grabbed their children and were escorted a safe distance from the gas leak.
It was blowing so hard in the hallway, we didn't know whether to leave the house or not. But when we smelled the gas, we just ran down the stairwell.
Were you scared?
Yes, I was. I was very scared because I didn't have no way to go.
Firefighters say because residents were evacuated about 40 minutes before the gas actually ignited, there weren't any serious injuries.
And despite the fear, panic, and intense flames, despite the potential for fatalities from the gas explosion, amazingly very few injuries to report, in part, as you've heard, because of the speedy evacuation of the building. It now appears that 7 people were injured, 3 police officers and 2 firefighters were among them. Their injuries are reported to be minor. No word yet how the other 2 people are doing. And for the elderly residents of the building, there have been some understandably emotional injuries, anxiety over what happens next. News 2 Chicago's Burley Hines joins us now with that part of the story. Burley?
Lester, the American Red Cross has taken over the New City YMCA where we are now, taking care of the more than 60 evacuees from the 2 buildings. Now, some of the evacuees have already gone home, those to the building that was not damaged in the fire. The provisions are still being set up for the others. The Salvation Army's disaster services truck issues goodies to some of the people who have been displaced by the tremendous gas main leak and fire. More than 300 people were evacuated from senior citizens buildings and surrounding buildings and offices. 60 of these seniors were rushed to the New City YMCA, used as a rescue center.
What did it sound like? It sounded like an airplane was flying too low.
Excuse me.
And then all of a sudden it sounded like water was, like a pipe had busted with water.
Some of the elderly had to be evacuated in wheelchairs, but most were ambulatory. They simply walked across the street. The YMCA was taken over by the Red Cross as relatives found and embraced the loved ones who escaped the fire.
Now we had the boom and everybody evacuated the building and we came on outside and next thing we know it was all on fire.
You know you got out just in time?
Yeah, I know God loves me.
When the smoke cleared, it was learned that one of the high-rise buildings was too damaged for seniors to return to their apartments.
Most of the people can go back into one of the buildings, which we hope to have back online this evening, and then we will try to find places for the other 40 to 45 people.
Now, those people that can't go back to the building that wasn't damaged have been asked to go live with their relatives until something can be brought into play to keep them up. Live on the near north side, Burley Hines, News 2 Chicago. Back to you, Lester.
All right, Burley, thank you. The gas leak and subsequent fire and explosion forced the evacuation of about 100 children from a nearby daycare center. Emotions running pretty high among the kids and parents from their New City YMCA. The children were having a Halloween party inside the building when they had to be evacuated.
Somebody say Oklahoma, and it kind of made me think about that bombing. And although I knew it wasn't intentional, it's still the fear, that something could happen to the kids at that daycare being so close.
There were a few frantic searches between parents and children, but everyone turned into joyful reunions. Parents and kids reunited after quite a traumatic and spectacular day.
There is still a lot of work left to be done in the aftermath of this explosion and fire. For starters, both People's Gas and OSHA, the federal safety agency, will begin their own investigations into exactly what caused it. Then there's the question of when gas will be restored. People's Gas officials say no one knows for sure at this point. If you need any information about friends or family who live in the building, you can call the CHA at the number on your screen, 791-4747. Another developing story still ahead on News 2 Chicago. Police in Palatine investigating what looks like a double